La mer. La mer. La mer.
I wanted to do some art material demo videos for a while and I haven't got around to it because I'm not good with like consistency on YouTube. Sorry again. I'm sorry. Ironlak sent me a big box of stuff. They didn't ask me to make anything. They didn't ask me to say anything, post anywhere. Not SponCon. The reason I want to do this is because when I was starting out, I like to try out what my favorite artists were using. Try before you buy. If you want to buy, you don't have to. And it's also a way for me to keep my work as fresh as possible and make sure that I'm using the best materials that I can for the work that I want to create. So basically they gave me like heaps of stuff, pens, pencils, gouache, like things that I'm not very familiar with also. So if it doesn't look good, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not good. It just means that I'm not as experienced with that material and that brand. But I did a huge mixed media drawing and we are going to talk about it as well. If you don't want to hear me talking about art materials but you just want to see the drawing part, just like put on some Spotify and just put me on mute. Ready? Let's try it!
On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes.
Okay, so first I'm using the premium colored pencils to do some outlining. Basically, I'm not a hard pencil gal, but these were pretty fun. I think I could use these for doodling. With drawing though, I think I would still stick to softer pencils. So like Prismacolor Premier, some of the Faber-Castells are a lot softer, or just graphites that are like above 2B are a lot better for me. But these are really fun and I would use them again. So if you're looking for like more inexpensive stuff, I think it's a good place to start.
On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes.
So they sent me two felt tip style pens, one fiber tip pen, which is 1 millimeter, and one fine liner, which is 0.4 mils. One's felt tip and one's more like soft texture almost. I like the color variation a lot. I lost half the pen somehow, but I don't know, that's just like typically me. I didn't have any problem with these. I don't often use fine liners, but I would use it for writing and probably like sketching on the go. I think that would be good. I don't know if they'd match up to Copic just because they're water-based and Copic is alcohol, so it settles a lot smoother. The fine liners are a lot like the Staedtler, and the fiber tip pens are a lot like the Faber-Castell, like clicky together pens.
Le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes.
Okay, so these are the Ironlak watercolors. Consistency of them reminded me a lot of the Reeves student watercolors, which are fine. I used those when I was starting out, so I think it's a great one to start on. Also, the color is really pigmented. It's really, really bright, and it's also really thick as well. They were kind of gouache in my opinion. Usually my watercolors are a lot less opaque, but I don't think that's a problem. I just think it's harder for it to settle in like a smooth way. You can definitely see the brush stroke. It doesn't level itself out as well as some of the more expensive watercolors that I've tried. So I don't think I would use this again, but it really depends on the effect that you're after. Faye Morehouse is like an artist who has like really rough painting textures, like really, really painterly. And if that's the kind of look you're after, these would be fine for that. It's just that the work that I do tend to use a lot of bleeding and stuff, and I don't think these were very appropriate for that.
On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes. On va danser le long des golfes.
I'm not a fan of watercolor pencils. pencils, but I actually liked using these. So that's like a big props to Ironlak because they created something that I had fun with. I found it really fun to mix like a few of the colors. I'm using red and yellow in part of this drawing. I've actually been wanting to try and introduce more loose lines and kind of more gestural lines into my work. So I think that the watercolor pencils will really come in handy with that because you can scribble really loosely and then kind of lift it with the water, but you can still see that texture. So I'm like really excited to experiment more with it.
Le long des golfes, on va danser. Le long des golfes, on va danser. Le long des golfes, on va danser. Le long.
These are watercolor markers. What the hell? I've never heard of them. I mean, I've heard of them, but I never tried them before in my whole entire life. And I didn't actually realize these were watercolor markers until I accidentally dipped the pen into like a wet bit of the paper and it kind of like bled into the rest of it. I think I need to practice with these. The color range is really good and I like the idea of being able to put down marker and then reactivate it with water. I just have to learn how to do it because the orange worked and then I tried again with the gray and it kind of didn't work. So, I mean, maybe it's hit and miss or maybe I'm just using it completely wrong. Probably the latter. I'll keep you posted on that. But I'm really excited about these.
Le long des golfes, on va danser. Le long des golfes.
But these are legit like Poscas. They're paint pens that you pump exactly like Poscas. I think they're water-based, so a water-based acrylic paint. I don't have much to say about these. Like I used to use Poscas a lot, so I would definitely use these if I was still making the work that I used to make. Depends how much more inexpensive they are, but I think it would be a good alternative if you're like conscious about price, because I know that Poscas can be quite expensive.
Le long des golfes, on va danser. Le long des golfes.
These Uzis are fun because the name is fun. But basically these are huge paint pens. I feel like if I did type with it, it would be really, really gorgeous because of the round nib. There's one thing I could change about them. I'd probably make them more opaque because with paint pens, I like them to be completely thick and I like to layer them up.
Le long des golfes, on va danser. Le long des golfes.
Okay, I have to admit I'm not like a pro gouache user. I wish I was though, and it's something that I will be practicing and I will document if you guys want me to till I become a professional gouache user. But I really liked using the gouache. I really like having a larger range of colors because it's not something that I usually buy. But again, I think it's more of like a student range of colors. I'm not sure if the consistency right, because even with just a little bit of water it turns quite translucent for me, but I still really like using it and I think it's just a matter of me getting used to this brand of gouache because usually I would use something like Winsor or Newton. I'm going to enjoy experimenting more with those ones too, so I'm definitely going to use those ones again as well.
Le long des golfes, on va danser.
Fine liners, just briefly, I was drawing faces on things because it's like something that I really enjoy doing at the moment is making everything into a little person. So these are pigment and fine liners. I think the equivalent to what I use now is a Copic fine liner, but they're technical drawing pens and they're supposed to be light, fast and permanent as well as waterproof. So that's what I look for in a Copic marker. The only other thing is Copic markers have like a really warm black ink, whereas something like an art line, which is not permanent and it is water-based, is more of a blue ink, and I don't prefer that. Let me just test this right now. It seems to have like a warm ink, but it's also not as dark as I would like it to be. Maybe it's just I need to use it more or shake it or something. I don't really use fine liners for anything other than writing to-do lists at the moment, so I will still use these if you're looking for a good to-do list fine liner. Defos recommend.
On va danser. Le long des golfes, on va danser. Le long des golfes.
So overall, I think it's a really good brand to start out on, especially if you're Australian because they are an Australian company. I think it's really important to support Australian businesses. And I really like that they've gone from just doing spray paints and stuff like that to expanding to paper, to brushes, to pens, to everything. And I think that's a really, really bold move, and I really respect that. I think that the reason they're sending stuff out to artists is because they want feedback and they want to grow, and I really respect that too. So Ironlak, thank you so much. I will continue to use these products. They are not going to waste, and I'm really, really excited to experiment some more. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you with another studio vlog super soon, I promise.
La mer. La mer.
Come feel this right now, please. Oh my god, it feels...
You need to make sure that you know.
Give me both fingers, both hands.
That is your throat.
No, come here. Come here, let me feel yours.
Yes, we're all normal.
Oh, we're both sick.